Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the GabNet Tour bus. Today our tour will take us up and around the newly designed GabNet.net webpage. For your safety, please stay seated while the bus is in motion and enjoy your trip. Also, remember that tipping your tour guide is greatly appreciated. Okay, we're off. The first place of interest that we're going to pass on the top left, you'll see a rotating billboard of all of the great GabNet programs. Legend has it that legendary broadcaster Alex Bennett created this billboard to attract early visitors to GabNet and to lure them into his site. To this day, it's one of the top attractions on our tour. Up next, look over at the top right and you'll see the most recent video of Alex Bennett's Ramble. And if you're lucky enough, we'll see Alex interacting with the citizen panel. Always a tour highlight. Did I mention that tipping your tour guide is greatly appreciated? As we approach the bottom of the Ramble video, we see quick links to all the ways that you can connect with GabNet programs. Facebook Live, YouTube, TuneIn, Livestream, Vimeo, and the GabNet Roku channel. They're all additional stops that you can make if you choose to step off the bus. But remember, please tip your tour guide if you do, and then you can hop on the next bus. Here's another highlight on our tour. On the left side, you'll see GabNet On Demand. You can quickly access any of the most recent programs there. Clearly, a value spot on our tour because downloads are at no extra cost. Please give your attention now to the right side. Look at the complete tutorial on how easy it is to become a citizen panelist. By the way, if you're a Luddite, there's a phone number that you can use to dial in. Okay, we're nearing the halfway point on our trip. I certainly hope that you're enjoying it. Oh look, there's the convenient call Skype button that you can click on, which will automatically connect you to the citizen panel. So now we're turning down the center of the page. I don't want you to miss any of these attractions, so please pay attention. Up first is a link to the 24/7 feed. Now these are going to come fast and furious, so pay attention. Next is a quick note on how you can hear GabNet on Amazon Echo. Next, quickly coming behind that, and this is always exciting, a screen that shows Alex Bennett's Ramble when it is live, with a countdown to the next show. It's always fun when we pass and the show is live. We're winding down our tour of GabNet.net, but before we reach our final stop, it's important to note that there is a place for you to contact them with your comments. Let them know how you like GabNet.net and the GabNet programming. And with that, we wrap up our tour. Remember, as you step off the bus, to please be careful. And also remember that GabNet is talk like you've never heard or seen it before. Did I mention, please tip your tour guide?
Hi everybody, this is Alex Bennett, and I've had a long and interesting trip. It's called Life. And for years, people have demanded that I write a book about it, and while I've been a writer, my main talent has always been that of a broadcaster. Over a year ago, I decided not to write the book, but using my best skill, I decided to tell it. It's called Life in the Passing Lane, and I described it as an audio biography. It's presented in 30-minute chapters, so it's easy to binge listen. And you can access it on the GabNet page by clicking on Life in the Passing Lane and going to a page with every single episode, plus some extras. If you want to access it on your mobile device, that's easy too. It's on iTunes. It's Life in the Passing Lane, an audio biography by me. I'm Alex Bennett.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey! I like to sing the song.
Hey everybody, it's Alex Bennett. It is the Ramble. It is Tuesday night, And in about 25 minutes right now, we're going to go check in with the citizens panel. But right now, we're going to go and check in with an old friend. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Bubs. I guess that's just all we have to call you, right? That's
the moniker that's hung on for 35 years. So
yeah,
I'm stuck with it.
I'm stuck with it. Anyway, so wait a minute. You're going to a dermatologist today?
Yeah, I got this weird growth. I worry about melanoma since I've had one. So
well, you had a melanoma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, if you get them early enough, it's no problem. So.
Yeah. But they got to dig them out, though. That's the problem.
They got to dig them out, and this is on the if they're on the face or the head, wherever the skin is the thinnest, that's where they're the most dangerous because melanomas they burrow down.
Yeah.
And then when the mole has cancerous cells in it, and then when it gets to the bloodstream, they break off, and that's pretty much you're dead at that point. So.
It's a cancerous mole, which is a disgusting term to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, every time we talk to people these days, it's about health, and I guess it's because of my age.
When you get old, that's all you talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So you wonder, well, geez, I don't know what I got to do here. Do I go to a doctor? Don't I go to a doctor? Am I feeling good? Am I not feeling good? I finally decided that I've always been a hypochondriac, and the problem
yeah, me too, yeah.
Problem is I got people who call this show right at night, and one night I looked at all of them, or about 6 of them, and every one of them had something worse than anything I could possibly have. I mean, one guy had prostate cancer, another guy is in a wheelchair, he's paralytic from the waist down. Let's see here. Another one is losing his heel and may have to have his foot removed. Another, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, and then I've got IBS. And I go, I should count my blessings, really, So, I've never had a melanoma. But you don't go out in the sun that much. You're the most pale.
No, I'm running all the time, so yeah, I do.
Oh, yes. Okay. Because I always thought of you as pale,
Yeah, I'm somewhat pale, but although I've read that melanomas can be caused by genetics other than sun, so it's not always the sun that does it.
No. Well, that's okay. So how everything else is fine?
Good allergies, but I guess everyone out here has the worst allergies this year ever. So
I started out terrible.
Alone.
I started out terribly a couple of days ago, and it was ghastly.
Yeah, I didn't know they really whack you out. Aside from the sneezing and
people think they have a cold, but they don't.
Right.
It's allergies. And I don't know how you can tell the difference, really, because, quite frankly, you can get allergies that make you just as miserable as a cold would.
Or worse. One thing I read, that if you sneeze more than 3 times in a row, it's almost always an allergy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if...
well, you know what?
If it's not as clear, it's an allergy, too.
What I always hated were people who couldn't tell the difference between a flu and the cold. People don't understand. If you have a cold, you don't run a temperature.
Right.
If you run a high temperature, you've got the flu. But people go, oh, it's flu season, I've got the flu. How do you know you got the flu? I've been sneezing all day. Do you have a temperature? No, then you don't have the flu.
Yeah, with a flu, you really knock on your ass, too, generally. So.
Exactly. So anyway, that was, good. Well, anyway, what else is new?
Well, I found my old almanac book, and I'm looking at. I found this section called "Entertainment Personalities of the Past," and I said, I bet I could pick out any name here, and Alex will know something.
Okay, now
about
wait a minute. This is what almanac it's called?
It's the World Almanac from 2000. But
do they even make those anymore?
I don't know if they do or not. Everything's online now.
I'll tell you one group of people that are out of work: encyclopedia salesmen.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, whatever happened to the Encyclopedia Britannica? I guess they're online.
They must be. That used to be an incredible gift to get those.
Oh yeah, well, people and there were salesmen who would come door to door, give your children the gift of knowledge. You know, the only thing was you bought an encyclopedia this year, and next year it was out of date. So every year they gave you an update to the encyclopedia you already had, which of course they would charge you for. But I
took up a lot of room.
I never had an encyclopedia, and that's why I'm so stupid. All right, so you're putting the challenge to me about people. Do I know who they are? Do I not know who they are?
Oh, yeah. Let's start off with, he's probably related, Robert Alda.
Robert Alda was Alan Alda's father, and he was famous for the song Donkey Serenade.
Okay, I never heard of that.
It was from a movie he was in, and I can't remember the name of the movie right now. But yeah, Donkey Serenade. There's a in the air and the da 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 da.
1914 to 1986, so he would have been 72.
Actually, Robert Alda in his time was a bigger star than his son became.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was very big, very well known.
Okay. I've heard of it. Brian Ahern.
Brian Ahern was an actor, and I can't remember. I believe, was he British?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't remember any movies he was in. He was a character actor. You know, it was always blah 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 and Brian Ahern. Yeah.
Brian Ahern.
Yeah.
This is a great name. I've heard the name Tallulah Bankhead.
Well, Tallulah Bankhead now is really quite famous. All right. Tallulah Bankhead, for instance, was one of the women who was tested for Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. Wow. And she also did the last big radio show ever done called The Big Show, in which NBC was trying one more time to try and save radio. And they put on this hour-and-a-half spectacular every Sunday, which had the greatest themes, the greatest opening, just really, it was big-time radio, right? And she hosted that. And she always had this kind of weird way of talking, Tallulah Bankhead, darling, you know. And she was a lesbian. So
okay.
that was another
before
fact.
It was popular.
But Tallulah Bankhead was also very close friends, I believe, with the Fitzgeralds, Zelda and F. Scott. If I remember correctly. I think she and Zelda grew up in the same area together. How do I know these things?
Yeah, you know everything about movies. You know it.
Yeah, well, not everything. You know. Go ahead.
I knew Noah Barry Jr. was on the Rockford Files, but I didn't know he had a father. Noah Barry Sr.
Yeah, there is a Noah Barry Sr. I can't remember what he looked like. I always remember Noah Barry Jr. because, among other films, he was in one of my favorite films when I was a kid called Rocket Ship XM. So there's Noah Barry Jr. Okay, I nailed that one.
You nailed that one. Okay, I'm going to try to find something obscure here. Let's see. Francis X. Bushman.
Oh, Francis X. Bushman, the first Tarzan. Are you kidding me?
Wow, look right off of it. Okay,
oh, no.
Excuse
me. I was wrong. I'm wrong. He was Ben-Hur. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Because Elmo Lincoln was the first Tarzan.
Okay.
How do I remember this shit, and I can't remember my wife's birthday? You know.
So he was the first Ben-Hur?
I think he was the first Ben-Hur, yes. Yes.
Was that a silent version?
That was the silent version.
Okay, he was born in 1883.
Yeah, it was the silent version, and I think, he was. He was, I believe, I could look it up here on IMDb or URDB, or let's see, Francis. All I have to do is probably go as far as X, and it'll, there we go. Francis X. Bushman. He was known for Sabrina Ben-Hur. I'm right. Nailed it.
Yeah.
I almost didn't nail it when I said Tarzan, but then I forgot that was Elmo Lincoln.
So he had a big career with Ben-Hur?
Oh, well, I mean, he played Ben-Hur. And it's got to be big. It's A Tale of the Christ. That was the subtitle. It was Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ. Written by Edgar Wallace. How do I know these things? Why did I just say that?
You're an expert on movies.
No, but where did it come from? No, but Ben-Hur was a book. I'm talking about the book by Edgar Wallace. I think he was something like a colonel or general or something. He also had that title. So
you've got a mind like a hard drive.
Something like that, yeah. Lew Wallace, excuse me. His name is Lew Wallace. General Lew Wallace. There we go. I just looked it up. Okay, so I got his first name wrong.
Okay, I know you'll know this one because I kind of remember myself. I think she had a tragic aunt, Veronica Lake.
Veronica Lake was a girl who had hair in front of her face.
It kind of dipped above one eye.
Above one eye, yes.
Yeah.
And I think she was a better actress than anybody ever gave her credit for. She did a Preston Sturges film called Sullivan's Travels. And she was adorable in that picture. And she didn't do the hair over the eye thing or anything like that. Just a very good comedic actress. And a lot, I think, forgotten, but should be remembered because she was good.
And but didn't she wind up like a recluse or something?
Something. I don't know what the story was with her. I forget now. You know. We always used to have a joke, Veronica Lake, she's located right next to Turan Bay.
Turan Bay.
Who, by the way, was a Mideastern actor who appeared in a lot of movies. Okay. Now, I remember that. I think that was from a Warner Brothers cartoon, in fact. They show a map and it says Veronica Lake and it says Turan Bay. You know, which are two jokes that if you showed that cartoon today, nobody would get.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excuse the siren outside, but my neighborhood is always on fire. Go ahead. Come on.
Okay. We got...
This is a new show we're doing here. It's going to be on every week called Stump the Host.
Well, Cary Grant's too obvious. Sidney Greenstreet was a great character actor.
Yeah, well, Maltese Falcon.
Right.
And that, oddly enough, I believe was his first movie. I can't remember what Sidney Greenstreet did before he was an actor, but he didn't become an actor till he was well into his 50s, maybe 60s.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
And then he had a very, very lucrative career. I mean, they put him in a lot of Bogart films. He did a lot of films. And then but very late in life, he got an acting career.
That would never happen today.
No, today you're washed up at 18. So. Okay.
H.B. Warner.
Now you've got me kind of stuck. I know the name, but I
don't know if I wonder if he's with the Warner Brothers.
H.B. Warner, no, he was another silent guy. And in fact, he and Francis X. Bushman would show up in Cecil B. DeMille's sound films. So H.B. Warner was, I believe he started in silence, and I believe he worked a lot with DeMille.
Okay,
but that's the closest I've come to failing on one. But only because I can't see him I can't see his face in my memory. So
Ben Turpin.
Ben Turpin, cross-eyed. He was cross-eyed. He was very famous for the cross eyes. He was silent comedian. One of the ones who we don't remember, and we should. He was up there with Buster Keaton and Chaplin and all of them. He had his own kind of thing, and he would look cross-eyed. And if I showed you a picture of him, you'd know exactly who he is. You because his face is kind of the face they sometimes put to silent films. You know, they say this is what silent films were, and they show Ben Turpin with the crossed eyes. So, go ahead, another one.
the great another. I think he was a comedian, Harry Langdon.
Harry Langdon was he was a kind of a, what do you call it? A deadpan, kind of like you, deadpan comic who always kind of looked pathetic. And he was a silent comic. I wasn't crazy about Langdon. My friend Shecky, I think, likes Harry Langdon a lot. But Langdon was a silent film star, comic. Okay, next.
Charles Farrell.
Charles Farrell was was the father of My Little Margie on television, but in movies he did a film with Janet Gaynor that won. I think Janet Gaynor, she won the first Oscar for a picture called Seventh Heaven, and Farrell was the star of that film with her.
Wow, really? Jeez. You're like Google when it comes to films.
I have no idea where this knowledge is coming from, to tell you the
well,
truth.
It's in there.
Well, it's kind of like your little talents. I think you don't know exactly where it comes from either, but you just have it.
With the dates, yeah.
And I'm surprised. I thank God for the last 2 nights I haven't taken a Xanax, and Xanax has made me have the total inability at recalling stuff. So I'm not trying not to do it, so my memory won't go south on me. So
Xanax, I take a pinch of Xanax and my memory is just shot like the next day.
Yeah. So I'm trying to lay off of it. I do just a pinch myself, enough to go to sleep at night. But now I'm doing things like melatonin. Yeah, I'm taking melanoma. It's really good for you. Anyway, go ahead. Another name. I'm amazing myself, actually.
I think this guy was a comedian. Joe Frisco.
Joe Frisco. I love Joe Frisco. So did my father.
Really?
Yeah. Joe Frisco was a comedian as well. I can't tell you what he did exactly, but all I know is my father always loved Joe Frisco. He thought
was he from here? Is that why the name?
He might have been from San Francisco, for all I know. Hold on a second. I'll look it up. Joe Frisco. Let me see here. Everything's on Google, folks. Joe Frisco. But I know the name, so you didn't. Here we go. He had a cigar and a top hat, He performed with some of the first jazz bands in Chicago and New York City, and so he wasn't from San Francisco. And yeah, he made several low-budget, otherwise forgettable movies, and he was a vaudeville artist basically. So, Joe Frisco. Ta-da! Go ahead.
You're unstoppable. Let's see. This sounds very English. Donald Crisp.
Donald Crisp was British, and the only film that I can remember that I think he was in was How Green Was My Valley, which, by the way, if you ever buy the film or anything, it was the first, I believe it was the first feature with a stereo soundtrack.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You know this. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Howard Da Silva.
Howard Da Silva was a very good New York actor. Considered, I think, was he Actors Studio? I don't know. I would have to ask my friend Jack Garfine. Da Silva, if I showed you his face, you've seen him in a lot of movies. He never was a star, but he always was a with. Okay, and he was a great actor. He was a go-to guy that they used. And I'm trying to remember some of the films he might have been in. Hold on a second. Again, with this time we go over to IMDb. Howard Da Silva. Here we go. Howard Da Silva movies. The Blue Dahlia, They Live by Night, The Lost Weekend, 1770.
Those are good movies.
1776. Mommy Dearest he was in. In other words, you probably, if I showed you his face, you'd say, oh, I know him. Yeah, I've seen him a dozen times, you know.
Okay.
But he's one of those actors that fits under that category of, wasn't that they had a documentary about it, the guy that was in that thing? That's the name of it. The guy who was in that thing. Well, he's probably could have the lead in the guy who was in that thing. So,
well, those are actually great careers to have. You make money.
Oh, yeah, and you work constantly. You work
constantly.
Yeah, you don't have like a 3-year career making millions and millions of dollars, and then you're depressed because you're not that big anymore. You just,
right.
You know, you dole out your career, and you have one for 30, 40, 50 years. So, yeah.
Okay, the next one I know has a connection to Hearst, and that's all I know would be Marion Davies.
Well, of course, Marion Davies is one of the most interesting people, I think, and one of the most misunderstood people. And when I say misunderstood people, I'm also quoting Orson Welles, who many times was accused of making the woman that Citizen Kane, or John Foster Kane, marries in Citizen Kane, as being modeled after Marion Davies. And, well, it could be assumed because that's exactly the relationship that Hearst had with Marion Davies. She was his paramour. I don't think they never got married. But when in 1929, when all of a sudden he was on the edge of losing his empire, okay, and all the newspapers, all the radio stations, all the TV stations, his movie company, so on. Marion Davies, who was his girlfriend and who he financed to a lot of films, she had spent her money wisely and became the owner of, are you ready? Stand by, Columbus Circle in New York.
Wow.
So she, even in the Depression, stayed wealthy. A lot of people did because they had their money invested elsewhere than the stock market. And she had enough money and gave Hearst $1 million and pulled him out of the out of bankruptcy.
Holy Christ!
Yeah.
That's a loyal woman.
Yep, and she was a great silent comedian. But the problem was Hearst wanted her to do serious pictures, so she went and did serious pictures. But the comedian, Marion Davies, was a superb comedian. Just
really?
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you watch Citizen Kane, you just think she was probably no talent.
A chippy, yeah. No, she literally saved William Randolph Hearst's entire fortune. Yeah.
Well, that's
she was no bimbo. She was no bimbo. Anyway, next, you got about 2 minutes left here.
I know this is a guy. All I know is this had a sad ending. Frances Farmer.
Frances Farmer committed suicide, didn't she? Yeah. No. She was killed.
She had a lobotomy.
No. Yeah, you're right. This is the one I'm probably bad on. She had a lobotomy. Yeah, she went crazy, and they gave her a lobotomy, and they made a movie called Frances. It starred Jessica. What was her name? Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is okay.
By the way, produced by Mel Brooks. Go ahead. Anyway.
Oh, was? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just curious because this one died at the age of 35. Jeannie Eagles.
I can't tell you much about her. I've heard the name. I know the name. They made a movie about her life with, I'm trying to remember who played Jeannie Eagles. Maybe Kim Novak? I
think that's right, because I vaguely remember. I just remember that name.
Yeah. So, and I remember it more because they made a movie about her than I ever saw a movie with Jeannie Eagles in it. Okay. You got time for one more.
This is, I know a little bit. I know this guy from one movie. I thought it was one of the greatest comic performances ever, Tom Ewell.
Tom Ewell, of course, 7-Year Itch.
Awesome in that.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. And he lasted for quite a while as a character actor in TV and movies and so on. And had a good career.
I think he had a small part in Beretta. That's the only other thing I remember him on.
Oh, really? Okay. Give me one
with
more.
Robert Blake.
Give me one more. Give me your best shot, because we're at 25 minutes now. But give me your best shot.
Give me the best shot. J.C. Flippin.
I know who J.C. Flippin is. I can see him in my eyes. He did, I think, quite a few John Ford pictures. Again, he was another with actor.
Okay, Linda Darnell.
Linda Darnell, I can see her in if I close my eyes, and she did a lot of movies too. She was one of those stars. You had these stars that were stars for several years, and they would be in films, and then all of a sudden, whatever happened to Linda Darnell?
Okay, and Robert Cummings.
Well, Robert Cummings, come on, I love that Bob. And Robert Cummings was also the star of Alfred Hitchcock's Saboteur. And
I thought he was just a TV actor.
No, he was also in Hitchcock's only 3D movie, Dial M for Murder. Yeah,
wow.
No, he was very much an actor before he was a TV star. That was the end of his career. Yeah. So anyway, how did I do?
I'll give you a 99.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
You know something? I didn't know I was this amazing till you just tested me.
Yeah, okay. Can I give you one? Because I love this name. One more?
Okay, one more. We got time. Fuck it. Nobody's
Lash LaRue.
Lash LaRue. Well, his name was, his real name was, he had another name that he used, and I'm trying to remember. Does it have a first name there for him? Jack? I think it was Jack
Alfred.
No, Jack LaRue. I think Jack LaRue and Lash LaRue were the same. Hold on a second. Let me see here. Let me go back to my IMDb. Lash. I bet if I put in Lash, there's only one name. Lash LaRue. Here we go. I'm trying to remember if he was... he looked so much like superstar Humphrey Bogart. The character actress Sarah Patton asked if the two were related. I'm just trying to remember if he also had a career later on as Jack LaRue. Let me just see here. Let me look up Jack LaRue. But Lash LaRue was, he had a whole... no, Jack LaRue was a different actor.
Okay.
Lash LaRue was a Saturday morning, Western guy.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember who he had a sidekick, but I can't remember who the actor was. It might have been Smiley Burnett, but I can't remember. But that's So I did okay on Lash LaRue.
You're amazing.
I knew who Lash LaRue was. I just thought maybe it was also Jack LaRue, and he wasn't. Jack LaRue was somebody else. So I did 99%. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, you're amazing.
God, how do I know these things? Sometimes people do things like this where they test your memory on something, and all of a sudden you realize you know more about it than you thought you did.
You obviously loved movies as a kid, so I think all this knowledge is just stuck in the brain.
Well, I had a guy on the air once who wrote a book called The Encyclopedia of the Old West. And I started talking to him. I started coming up with all kinds of facts about the Old West and so on. And it was a knowledge I didn't know I had. It's
I didn't know you had
as you go through life like a tumbleweed, these little things attach themselves to you, and you don't know you're acquiring all this information, but for some reason it was important to you. So I did better on this than I thought I would have done if you'd said, well, let's try this, and I'll say, well, I'll try my best. But I amazed myself.
Yeah, I was amazed.
Either that or you didn't pitch me any hard ones.
Well,
you didn't bring up Louise Fazenda. Anyway, listen. We spent more time with you today than we ever have in the past, and it's always well worth it to talk.
I thought that was fun. I love this stuff.
To talk with Larry Bubbles Brown. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Alex. We'll do it again.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And thank you very much, Bubbles. That was enjoyable. We have to do that again. Stump the host. That's the name of the segment. But it amazed me that I could answer all of those. But I made one mistake. I said John Foster Kane for Citizen Kane. It's Charles Foster Kane. Why I fucked up on that, I have no idea when I was so good about everything else. But it was Charles Foster Kane. Anyway, but that's it for Bubbles. And now we sit here waiting. Oh, wait a minute, I got to get rid of my music here. I got to bring up the Skype, and then let me just clean this up a little bit here. I have to. I didn't clean it up before I went on the air, which I should do. There we go. It's been cleaned up, and now I will go online. Oh wow! So now people can call me, and I guess they're going to. They will, hopefully. And we're sitting here waiting for people to call. Okay, I got that done. Okay, so my life. I've decided my life is boring. What, Alex? How is your life boring? No, I used to have an exciting life. If I had to do my life in the passing lane based on my life now, it would last about 5 minutes. Because really, I have no exciting adventures to report to you. But I do have an exciting person to talk to here who just joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, boy, you're looking more and more like, I'm trying to figure out who the hell, let me get rid of that. Who the hell you look like with that.
I look like Trump's old doctor.
Really? No, you don't. No, believe me, I would kill yourself if you feel you look like Trump's old doctor.
Did you see him today on TV?
You mean Dr. Feelgood, whatever his name is, Dr. Bobanick or Buttfuck?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, the one that got his office raided or whatever, he was complaining. I told my wife, I love his hair.
You know something? If I had that man as my doctor, I would wish I was dead. I mean, does that doctor with his looks engender any kind of confidence in him as a doctor?
No, not at all.
I wish I had a picture of him I could bring up right now and everybody could see what we're talking about. But his doctor, Trump's doctor, said that about 2 weeks after he became president, Trump's goons came into his office, a lawyer and his bodyguard, and they ransacked his office of all the stuff on Trump, all the without any kind of warrant or anything like that. Now, why they did that, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. Just hi, Phil. But I think Mr. Perulis had his hand up there.
He was just waving at Phil.
Oh, he was just waving at Phil. Oh, I see.
I think.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah, I made a date with Phil. Couple of dates.
Oh.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. Well, I hope.
Oh, we'll tell you about it.
Yeah,
I'll tell you about it. It's fun.
I can't speak for how well he gives head, but
I suck. I'm selfish.
That's good.
Very, very selfish, right? So no, but here's the deal. So this doctor said that they came into his office and then they immediately ransacked it for all the materials on Trump, and they didn't even give him copies or anything like that, which a doctor probably should have just for his own records, just in case somebody ever wants to say he did something wrong or something, And it was pretty shocking. So of course anything like this becomes the big news of the day, right?
Right.
The guy who ransacked the office was that his position or job to get that information?
What?
What he's doing?
Head ransacker? Is that?
Yeah, no. I thought that whoever did it was like an aide.
I just said he was his bodyguard, Trump's bodyguard, and I think a lawyer.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't try. You're going to try and excuse it. Go ahead.
No. You're talking about the admiral, right?
No.
This is a
We're
different.
talking about. Remember, Doctor. I don't even know. I forget what his name was, but he looked weird. He looked like a guy you wouldn't want to have as a doctor. Yeah. He looks like Scott looks right now when he does that with his hair.
Okay, that was the guy
right.
that gave him a clean bill of health before he was elected.
Yes.
Okay.
And he came back and said that Trump dictated that letter to him to write.
Because I was saying to myself, I don't see resemblance between the admiral and Scott. You know.
No, this is a different guy, but you don't pay attention to the news that much.
The old Scott, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. This doctor wrote the letter saying how wonderful he was, but had it dictated by Trump. And that's kind of interesting because what kind of a doctor is this guy? That he would even allow that to happen. If I went to my doctor and said, okay, now here's what you're going to write in your report about my health, he'd tell me to go fuck myself.
Well, maybe they did.
He would call you a fucking idiot.
He'd call me an idiot. We don't do that. That's not the way we do business in the medical profession. So I mean, I just I all weekend long I've been reeling under this whole thing of Trump wanting a Nobel Peace Prize before he's ever done anything,
Well, the South Korean president feels he should have
Well, the South Korean president is probably sucking Trump's dick because there's no way Trump is getting a Nobel Peace Prize because they don't want him in Oslo or wherever in Norway they give those.
He was cheating on Kim Jong-un. They were holding hands, jumping over the curb together.
Yeah. But, if we're going to give a Nobel Peace Prize, okay, given what Trump notes as being his reason for getting a Nobel Peace Prize, really, it should go to that basketball player. What's his name?
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. He should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Because he was running around saying, this guy's okay. You could really do business with him long before anybody thought about doing business with him. I mean, Dennis Rodman doesn't look so crazy right now, does he?
Did you see that Rodman documentary that they did on the visit?
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everybody was calling him crazy and he's nuts and why is he doing this and all that. And yet, that may have been the opening salvo to getting the West to talk with him because he left him books by Donald Trump and so on, like Art of the Deal and so on, and said, read these, you'll get an idea of what he's like and what he's about. And
I thought it was Seth Rogen that opened up the channel.
No, not at all. But so I think Dennis Rodman should get the Nobel Peace Prize before Trump.
Oh.
Hey, Alex, hasn't Dennis Rodman's wife been on your show? I was talking to her somewhere. I can't forget. She's a blonde, and she was married to him. Maybe it was on a Burning Man thing. I don't know.
I can't remember. I don't think so. I don't remember it.
Wasn't there some model that was married to him, like a Baywatch type?
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think of her name. I met her. I talked with her sometime.
Well, he didn't marry Pamela Anderson, did he, for a short time?
No.
It was a different one. It was a brunette.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was she. Well, the lady I talked to was a blonde, but she might have dyed her hair or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Did she say she was on my show?
I thought so.
Could well be. I don't know. I had a lot of guests on my shows in those days. And
hey, I got a name for you. Paul Ashley.
Karma Electra, someone said.
What?
I was just reading on the chat. Karma Electra.
Carmen Electra. Yes, he was married to Carmen Electra.
Thank you, Rocco.
That was his wife?
Yeah.
For a short period of time.
Short period of time.
Carmen Electra. Shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Paul Ashley, who identified from your previous guest. Yeah, you know, it's a TV personality.
Paul
from
Ashley?
the 50s.
Well, I'm not good on television personalities because there are so many of them.
Okay.
Well, there's so many of them. You know that Paul Ashley. You sure you got the name correct?
Oh yeah, I worked for him. Had a show called the Rudy Kazudi Puppet Show on TV.
Oh, that wasn't the reason I don't know of him is because Rudy Kazudi was not West Coast.
Yeah, that's right.
It was East Coast.
Or I thought it was Central, like Chicago.
In those days when you had TV shows for kiddies, there were the East Coast. They were all local, you know, and so everybody remembers, you know, remembers Rudy Kazudi here in New York, and they remember, you know, Wonderama and things like that. And yet,
Captain Kangaroo.
We never had that out in California. The only thing that was all syndicated around the country were two things: Bozo the Clown. There were a lot of bozos around the country. One of which is in the White House right now.
We go.
And Romper Room was another syndicated kid show.
What's the one that had the sock puppet?
Jerry Lewis.
All of them had sock puppets.
Was Sherry Lewis East Coast or
she's still alive?
Sherry Lewis was national, but by that time it was national. But when I was a kid growing up, those shows were local, except for Howdy Doody was national.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, what are we talking about that for? Anyway, because you got us off on Rudy Kazudi. I mean, I know who Rudy Kazudi was. I've seen, in fact, the kinescopes of the Rudy Kazudi show.
Yeah, wow, yeah. Well, that was one of my jobs in college, first jobs in TV. He was redoing his show, except with new puppets for kids' TV.
Yeah.
And I got hired to do the set backgrounds. So I was, you know, junior in college, I think, in East Coast, and you know, he was doing his show in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Wow.
Abby Hoffman's from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yes, he's from Worcester, Massachusetts, right?
Yep.
In fact, what did Abby used to say about the town? It's famous for something else besides Abby Hoffman.
Miss Wodina.
Sauce.
But no, there's one other person that was from there. And you put them together with Abby Hoffman, and you go, boy, you know, I can't remember now, though.
Jerry Rubin?
No. Jerry Rubin wasn't from Worcester. There was somebody from there. Somebody was born up there when he was growing up that, you know, they knew each other or something. Anyway, be that as it may.
Yeah.
But you know, this whole Nobel Prize thing has just been beyond. This crowd chanting Nobel, Nobel. Like, you know, it's like they've cheapened this prize now down to a chant, you know? And the only reason he wants one is because Obama got one. Now, anybody that wants to argue that Obama shouldn't have, I'd probably agree with. He didn't do enough to want one, but they liked him. You get it?
Yeah.
You get it? They liked him. Now, you watch when they don't give him the Nobel Peace Prize, because I don't think there's a chance of a snowball in hell that they will, especially since he's now been begging for it like a crying little wimpy baby. When they don't give it to him, watch the tweets. The fake Nobel Prizes, you know. He'll start doing his little.
Hey, if the Nobel Prize is a personality contest,
it
then
isn't. But it isn't a personality contest.
But you just said it was. They gave it to Obama because they liked.
No, they gave it to Obama because I think they really felt that he engendered in his writings and things like that peace. Okay, it was and the only difference is that Obama got $1 million, as you get. When you get the Nobel Peace Prize, you get $1 million, and he, of course, gave it to charity. Trump will probably keep it for himself.
Henry Kissinger got the Nobel Peace Prize, too.
Yeah. Martin Luther King got the Nobel Peace Prize. And you're putting these people up in the same category with Donald Trump. I mean, it's okay. It's like a party you're invited to. It's not something you go out and lobby for. You don't run for the Nobel Peace Prize.
If he ends the nuclear threat in the Korean Peninsula, I think he deserves it.
Well, he's not. He wouldn't be ending it. Kim Jong-un would be ending it. The
He
South
should get the
Korean
Peace
president.
Prize, Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un should probably. Yeah, that's it. Give him the Peace Prize along with Donald Trump. A double ceremony.
Yeah. Do they both get the medal then?
And by the way, there's no peace to be found in North Korea. There's only a threat in North Korea. There's a peace to be found in Syria. There's a peace to be found in many other countries in the world. But there's no peace to be found in North Korea. It's just stopping the nuclearization. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Of the Korean Peninsula is not in and of itself an act of creating peace.
Tell that to the Japanese and tell that to the Americans.
I'll be happy to tell that to the Japanese, and I think the Japanese would probably agree with me that is not in and of itself brokering peace. Okay, because there's no war to broker peace for.
What he did was he created a situation where Kim Jong-un
hasn't done shit.
Yeah, he created.
Do you know who did? Do you know who did the most? The Chinese. Yeah. The Chinese did the heavy lifting on that one. When he went, do you remember that Kim Jong-un took his little choo-choo train, to Beijing, and he met with the Chinese Communist Party and came back, and all of a sudden he was making nice to everybody. I wonder what kind of deal
bingo.
I wonder
it was peace through power, and that's what Reagan did, and that's how he brought down communism.
He didn't bring down communism.
Brought down communism.
He didn't bring down communism.
He bankrupted the USSR.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. You're really who's feeding you this crap?
I'll set him straight, Alex.
Okay,
don't worry.
Set him straight. Go ahead, John. Set him straight now. Don't wait.
No, when we go on our date, then I'll,
no. Set him straight now.
Well,
I think China is still in business as a communist organization.
quasi-communist.
I can't remember their names, but
they're a far cry from communism, Jeff. And look at their economy. Now, if you want to talk about communism, why don't you look at Venezuela and see how good they're doing?
Well,
what is this? Whataboutism again?
Yeah.
What the fuck does
some entertainer?
What the fuck does Venezuela have to do with the Soviet Union?
Because they're one of the last communists.
They're not communist.
Who's communist?
Venezuela.
Well, but what does it have to do with Russia? They're not communist.
Jeff said that communism was working well in China, and I said China isn't really communist anymore.
Oh, China is absolutely.
The only thing that's communist about them is
hold on a second. China is absolutely a communist country. There is no question about it.
And Hong Kong and all of these other things that they run, and
Hong Kong was separate from China until it was then ceded back to China by agreement back in, I think it was 2000 or 1999. And that was the first time that they really did any real kind of commerce, because Hong Kong was already making a ton of money. And
right.
So
now their
economy
started to prosper after that.
It goes all the way back to
Nixon.
No, I'm thinking of the Chinese leader, Deng Xiaoping.
Oh.
He was the one that instituted the first cracklings of capitalism in China. He allowed a certain area of China to engage in capitalism to see how it would work. Deng Xiaoping realized and felt that the country could not survive under a purely communistic economic form, and so therefore he experimented. And actually, it was the undoing of Deng Xiaoping. The Communist Party did not like him doing it.
Of course not, because they would go in and they take all the property.
Did you ever hear of Deng Xiaoping?
Yes.
Well, tell me something about him.
I can't tell you much more than you just told me.
Well, you've just heard. You've heard
more than I knew before.
Well, I know a lot about Deng Xiaoping. Tell me about his interview with Mike Wallace.
I didn't watch his interview with Mike Wallace.
Well, you should have, because it was it was a very interesting point that he brought up when Mike Wallace said to him on 60 Minutes, "You're engaging in capitalism in China now. I thought you hated capitalism." He says, "No, capitalism isn't bad. It's the people that do it that are." You know, that if you're going to have capitalism, it should benefit everyone, not just big business.
Except it usually just benefits the leaders of China.
I'm telling you what he said.
Yeah,
you know,
but the truth is that it benefits the leaders of China and communism.
Yeah, but Deng Xiaoping was not one of those people who was like the criminal element in China who was running it and looting it at the same time. Okay? Yes, John.
Yeah, one really fantastic quote I remember was from Donald Rumsfeld commenting on Chinese capitalism. And he said they have the best system ever because they don't have a Congress modifying their corporations. They have the most ideal form of capitalism in the world, capitalism modified by communism. So there you go.
I'll give you a good example. That they said, I think it was about 5 years ago, that within 5 years, something like 75% of all China would have Wi-Fi, and over 75% of China now has Wi-Fi. They also said we're going to do a fast rail system all over the country, and it has been being built, and it was basically because they just say make it so. And it gets done. There's no Congress sitting around bitching about it or crying about it. They just do it. Huh?
No EPA.
You don't like that. You're the guy who's always calling for regulations, and so you don't.
When have I called? Tell me a regulation I've called for.
Oh, you bitch and moan when Trump cuts EPA regulations.
I'm griping about him cutting EPA regulations because those regulations are protecting my fucking lungs, Phil.
Yeah, and the Chinese, you can't breathe the air.
I know.
Same with India. So it's time that they started.
India has cleaned theirs up. You know, you love to live in generalities, and your thoughts about places in the world are old. They're seated in the past and not in the present.
That's okay.
And by the way, when I was in Beijing, there wasn't a lot of smog there. I know they have a problem with it, but they didn't seem to have a problem with it at the point.
Shanghai was awful when I was there.
Really?
I mean, you'd take your hand anywhere on a building and wipe it down, and then your hand would be dark brown with coal soot. I mean, there were no living trees in Shanghai. The river is completely dead. It's a nightmare. Yeah. I was repulsed by the city.
Yeah. On the other hand, I didn't see that kind of problem in Beijing, but it may well have been. I saw what seemed to be smog, but I don't know in Guilin in the on the Li River in the early morning. But that it might have been morning haze. Okay.
Did they restrict where you could travel and what you could see when you were visiting China?
Oh yes, everywhere. They had somebody following us everywhere we went, and when we'd use the telephones at the hotel, they'd be listening in on every word that we said.
Of course, just like you can't use certain.
Phil,
use Facebook.
I went anywhere I wanted to go. Okay,
all right, well, that was the question, smarty.
Well, the answer is fuck you. You're not getting the answer you want.
Fuck you too. Hey, I got Pete's French roast directly from Pete's. It was food. They roasted it on April 24th. So nice, fresh French roast Pete's. No K-cup.
Yeah. Well, I don't use the K-cup. I use the fillable K-cups now. And I get myself some ground Pete's. I use the Big Bang, which is the Ethiopian blend, and it was sent to me quite fresh.
Okay.
So
just like your attitude.
Yeah. So, but I put it in this non-plastic K cup thing, and I brew it, and it tastes. It's really good. It's really terrific. You know. All right. But I'll tell you something. I gotta tell you something. This just drives me fucking bananas. Okay. What is it, Alex? Okay, let me tell you. So I order. It's time for me to. I have tea every night, so it's time for me to order some more tea. So I decided I don't want to run out of tea. I'll order 48 K cups of tea, right? And while I'm at it, I needed a cord for a microphone, so I ordered that too. All right, pretty simple order.
In a microphone.
Yeah. They were all coming in the same order for some reason. Okay, because I ordered them about the same time. So I come home. I'm hanging out. We're here, and I get a message on my email. UPS tried to deliver, but there was nobody there. Well, I was here. And I was here where I could actually hear the doorbell, okay, which is in the other part of the room. But when I'm in the studio, I can hear it. Can't hear it when you're down the hall a little bit in the bedroom for some reason, but I can hear it here.
Maybe they went to L instead of I.
They never did. You know, then there's a note downstairs. Oh, sorry, we missed you. Well, no, you weren't, because if you really wanted to see me, you could have just rung the right bell or do it right. So now I call Amazon. And I'm yelling and screaming because I'm sick of this. Happens all the time. And they said, "Well, let's check because they just left 5 minutes ago from your apartment. Let's check with UPS and see." And then
she said you're a complainer, and they cut you off.
She gets back to me and she says, "No, he can't go back." I went, "Well, we were here, you know." So they said, "Well, Monday they can deliver again," and this is on Friday. I'm going, "Oh, Monday, okay, fine, okay." So I waited around all day for the package, by the way. Now, Monday comes, I wait all day for the package again. No package. And there's a note online. The address is wrong. Now, look, the address is never wrong when it comes from Amazon. I've been using the same address over and over and over again. So now I'm really phoning up them. And then they put me on to UPS, and I yell at UPS. And I just said, well, we can't do anything except deliver it again tomorrow. And now I'm in a froth. I'm just going crazy, because, come on, I've spent 2 days waiting for a fucking stupid little package with some tea and a cable so that I can get it if you deliver it.
Why don't they just leave it at the door? Why do you have to be home?
Because we have a gate. They get in there. Then there's a door downstairs, and they ring up, and we let them in. Okay, because there are 3 so-called buildings in this courtyard. But they couldn't. The address was wrong. I'm sorry. The address is always right. It's 8-I, and I always do a lowercase I so it doesn't look like an L. Okay. They come back today and they deliver the thing. Finally, it gets delivered. After all my yelling. In fact, I went online to the Facebook page for UPS and wrote a big...
I saw that.
Yeah. Where did you see it? You went over to UPS?
No, I mean, I saw your Facebook page complaining about UPS. You made a Facebook post.
Oh, I did a message. Oh, well, they put the whole post is there?
No. Just your comment. That's all.
Just my comment. Anyway. And they were very nice. They got a hold of me. Oh, we're so sorry, blah, 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 and we'll make sure it gets you. Well, it got to me today. I look at what happened. Here's what happened. First of all, the first guy should have rung up. He didn't ring up, or he pushed the wrong button or something, or didn't. Obviously, it's somebody who doesn't know the building, okay? Otherwise, they would have known that I take a lot of stuff's delivered to Bennett Schwarzman in 8I, right? And even if it didn't have an apartment number, they'd know where to come. That was in the old days when you knew your UPS driver. But you don't anymore, because it could be any fool who's got the job, who's drooling as he drives. I looked at it, and yeah, the address was right that was mailed to me, and then it was like a sticker that was pasted on So I peeled that, and there was another sticker they had pasted on. Like, when they didn't deliver it, they then made up another sticker and put it on there. And then when they delivered it again, they made another sticker and put it on there. The one underneath, they forgot to write the I. It was their fault. You know.
Amazon?
Yeah. No, not Amazon. UPS. Because they would keep making a new sticker every time they made a delivery. You get what I'm saying? Like, if all of a sudden I picked up one at the UPS store for Marjorie, and they had a sticker over the Amazon address that said UPS store. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was their fault, you know. And I mean, I literally wasted 3 days waiting for this stupid package, and they didn't seem to give a shit.
This service is going to run you another $20 this year.
Not me.
Why?
Because I'm on Shecky's dime.
Okay. So what happens when you order something? Is your credit card in Shecky's account?
No, I am Shecky as a Prime member could have somebody as another person on his account.
Okay, so you're a ward of the court.
So he put me on his account, and I have my own credit card there and everything. Now, I get Amazon Prime Television through Marjorie because she has her own account, which I've never gotten onto hers, you know.
And she won't let you.
That's right. That's right. But anyway, so that's how I'm on. But come on, I just want my stuff. You know, I don't want to have to go through this shit. And I don't want to be told I'm not here when I am here. It meant you didn't try hard enough. And again, it goes to that problem of, I used to know my UPS driver. He used to come all the time, deliver the stuff. Hi, how are you? Here, it's Christmas. Here's $20, you know. Thanks so much, you know. How's everything with your wife? Oh, fine, thank you. I haven't seen him in the longest time.
They have too many deliveries now, and they can't spend any time bullshitting with you.
And no, it isn't a matter of bullshitting with me. I don't want them to have to bullshit with me. But but the guy knew who I was, so if the package was mislabeled or whatever. When you sent that mini Mac, you sent it to the wrong address.
Right, I put
8L, which is another building. And I had to run around like crazy. I chased down a truck, but he knew the guy who knew the guy. And when I finally went down to do something, the next thing I knew was the door was opening up, and it was UPS saying, "Here's your package." I took it up to 8L because that's where it was.
You crap before and used 8L.
No, you couldn't have. No, then it didn't get to me.
It did. I sent you a hat from the Oakland A's you wanted.
Well, I'm telling you now that you must have said something else.
It's one of those gray.
There's also another possibility. It might have been in the days when I had the same driver all the time, and he knew that it was mislabeled, misaddressed.
And I used your moniker. You know, I used Alex Bennett. I think.
You could do that, or you could do Bennett Schwarzman. They know both, but I mean, they don't know both now. But he knew both. So, I mean, that's maybe the reason it got to me. But this time you had the wrong one. But the guy was nice enough. I mean, I have to give
one as last time.
No, I have to give UPS credit that they were nice enough that the guy went, "Oh, well, that's because I took it up to this apartment that it was labeled to. Otherwise, I would have never gotten it."
Yeah.
Yeah. So we dodged the bullet on that one. So.
Well, whatever you sent me, and it was a couple of years ago, was your address, and it looked like an L. You know?
Well, that's the problem. That's why when I spell it for people, when you're on a typewriter, if I ever send you my email, it's 8-lowercase I. Yeah. So you know it's an I.
Let me look in your contacts. My contacts.
Yeah. But, you know, an L is a line and then a line across. It's an L.
That's a lowercase L.
No, it's not a lower. Well, I guess you could say it was a lowercase L. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
What?
Maybe I changed it because it says 8-lowercase I.
Oh, well. So if everybody have a drink, Phil fucked up again.
It was probably an L originally, and I fixed it after the Mini Mac thing.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But, oh, boy, I have a sinus killing me right now.
Oh, Faye has the sinus thing, too, today. She's...
No, I mean, but suddenly I'm getting a little here, you know.
Yeah.
And Marjorie is sick. She's got some kind of horrible cold, and I don't know where she got it, you know, and I'm just hoping I don't get it now. You know. And then I went out yesterday, I had Chinese food, and I gained 3 pounds.
Yeah. Look at the nice doors in Jeff's place.
Yeah, you're not listening to me.
Yeah, gained 3 pounds.
So now we went out for there's this sushi place. It's like a sushi buffet, a Japanese buffet, and it's wonderful.
Did you have the rice sushi or just
no? I didn't have any of that. But I then for the rest of the day was drinking soda like crazy because I was really thirsty because it was so chock full with sodium that it put 3 pounds on me in water weight. You know. And so tonight I ate some pecan clusters, which give me the trots, and I had the trots, and now I bet I'm back down to where I was. So.
How can you lose weight on pecan clusters?
Because these are sugar-free.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you do some of that sugar-free stuff, and it can make you run like rocket fuel. You know, it's like...
I thought Atkins said that just because it's sugar-free doesn't mean it's free of carbs. And
no,
Atkins is dead.
Yeah, but it's ice that killed him.
Oh, that's right. He slipped.
Yeah,
he slipped on ice and got laid up or something, and that screwed him up forever.
No, Atkins has never said that that sugar-free is bad. There are people who argue that. See, Atkins says.
Oh, he's low calorie. Low calorie.
Low calorie is a different deal altogether.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's low calorie because it's sugar free.
No, but a lot of times it can be full of sugar and be low calorie. You know, because they put low calorie because they cut the sugar in half. You know.
But it's still 39 grams.
What Atkins says is that you can take all the dietary fiber and all the sugar alcohols and take them out of the total carb count, and what's left are called net carbs, and that's what you have to count against, because those are the ones that have impact on your glucose or whatever. You know, there are those that argue though that you should only take away half the sugar alcohols. It depends on the sugar alcohols, too, but half the sugar alcohols, because they do have some kind of impact. I don't know. I don't care. But anyway, the pecan clusters are sugar-free. They use stevia in them, and they are guaranteed to give me the trots, and that's exactly what I wanted so that I could lose all that weight that I gained yesterday.
I thought Pete's Coffee does that too.
And next thing you know, I'm going to be like sticking my finger down my throat and being bulimic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you might want to try taking a walk once in a while too.
You know,
I heard Dancing for the Stars is into that.
Yeah, Alex, you could go on that.
Yeah.
You're a star.
Harding did. She lost weight.
My feet hurt when I walk because I have this numbness in my feet now. So I have a hard time walking. I'm going to walk. I'm going to do some walking the next day or two.
Get some good shoes. You know, get something that's got some support in them.
I have good support in my shoes.
Now, I'm not talking about your hosiery.
Don't laugh at your own joke, Phil. It's very bad to laugh at your own joke. When you laugh at I always hate comedians that laugh at their jokes because what they're saying to the audience, okay, you're supposed to laugh on this.
Yeah, well, if I wanted you to laugh on this, I'd play the
Bill Maher drives me crazy with that. He will laugh at his own joke, and it's a cheap way of getting a laugh from the audience.
You know, if it's funny, it's funny. Why can't I enjoy it?
No, well, because we're not. And why should you enjoy it if we're not?
Hey, his feet hurt. He doesn't enjoy shit.
My feet are killing me. Dogs are aching. You know.
Oh, that's fun. Ooh.
Alex, can you ride a bike without your feet hurting?
Ride a what?
A bike.
Then his ass would hurt.
A what?
a bicycle, a bike.
What's that exactly?
They used to have a really big tire in the front and then a really small one in the back, and that's.
Oh, I remember those from when I was a kid. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid and I got my first bicycle. My parents got it for me for my birthday, and we lived in Marin County, so it was great that I had a bike. All the kids had bikes. But what they all had were these, in those days, were these Schwinn's with the big balloon tires. You remember those, the Schwinn's? And in fact, I remember they had a little button on the side. You could press it and make it go beep, beep. I remember that, and I could never figure out why. I mean, you could never hear it more than 2 feet away from the,
Those are the ones that they look for in American Pickers.
But anyway. Anyway,
I used to have one.
What my father bought me was what he considered to be the newest thing. It was an Indian bicycle, which was a British bicycle with thin tires.
Oh, yeah.
So now I was the only kid in the neighborhood with this bike, right? Like this. Now
English racer, and they probably had a 3-speed thing.
Yeah, the whole thing, three speeds, the whole thing. Yeah, great bike. Yeah,
Raleigh and a few other brands.
Yeah, but boy, did I get a ribbing from all my friends. What are you, a fag? That's what you always got whenever it seemed too feminine to them. When you a fag, what is a fag bike? Yeah.
I had a roll fast when I was really young. It was called a roll fast. It wasn't a Schwinn.
No, that was just
a Schwinn until
I
got a varsity.
That's when you tumbled downhill.
Yeah, really.
Roll fast.
It was small. They were like 20-inch bikes.
No, but anyway, I had this Indian, and all the kids made fun of me. And then as I got older, every bike was with the thin tires. It was the hip thing to have. But but no, I was just a fag for having one at school. So.
Wow, Alex, you really brought me back with the Schwinn. I used to have one, and I completely forgot until you just said it, that there was a little button on the side where it blew a little horn.
Yeah. But those things, I'm glad I never used them because, quite frankly, I don't know how kids survive those bikes. I mean, they were just they were like, Phil, please, Phil.
It was appropriate.
No, it wasn't appropriate. That wasn't the sound that it made. It was a buzzer sound. It was like on a game show.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, you had a buzzer?
No, the Schwinn's had the buzzer.
Schwinn had one.
Yeah.
Did it also have a spring in the front?
Some of them had those springs.
Yeah,
like a big wire spring. Yeah.
Right.
Mine had the
brakes.
brakes. With the Schwinn, in order to use the brake, you just took the pedals and moved them in reverse.
Right.
And that would break break it. I, on the other hand, mine had the hand grips and the little things on the wheel.
Huh? It was an English racer.
I know. I was a fag. I had to squeeze my handles. Right.
But it was faster than all the other bikes.
On my Life in the Passing Lane, I did this one episode called "My Life Growing Up Gay," and the reason I called it that was because every time I did something, because my father, worked for the symphony, and I would go to the ballet, and I was steeped in culture. My father took me to art shows and things like that. What are you, fag? No matter what, you got a new bike. It's not the typical one. It's the Indian bike, and what are you, fag?
Now, did it have something on the fender that looked like an Indian? Because when I watch this American Pickers,
and on the front, very front of where there's a column, you get the handle here, and then you get a column. On that column was a picture, I think, of an Indian. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
You sure it wasn't a Raleigh?
No, that was another English bike.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know which one had the Indian.
Well, it was called an Indian. Indian made motorcycles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They still are. They revived it.
Off and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they went into making bicycles for a while, and I had one of those. So I was.
That's a very cool bicycle, and today it would be worth a fortune.
Yeah. Look who's here, back from vacation. Hi, Phil. Hi, Rob.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Just got through watching the Yankee game. The Yankees beat Houston, so they're playing in the Midwest. So the games are start at 8 instead of 7.
How does the Yankees lineup look this year?
Awesome.
Really?
Oh. Yeah.
Hey, George Steinbrenner still playing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's still playing. Yeah, because now I'm going to have to deal with Rob on this because when he comes on the show, if you find he's depressed, it's because they aren't doing well this year. And if he's happy, they're doing well this year.
Well, the game went into the 9th inning with no score because they got the shit kicked out of them for 8 innings, and then they put in a relief pitcher in the 9th, and the Yankees scored 4 runs. So I ended up winning 4-1, 4-0.
Yeah. But no, good. So you must be happy that it's time once again for baseball.
Extremely. I was watching it down on the big 120-inch screen.
Yeah. Really?
So the season's starting again? Baseball season? Or is it over?
Started a month ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's over in October. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I thought you were a baseball fan.
Not really. I just take pictures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I go, I take pictures. It's something to take pictures.
Yeah, but you can't sell those pictures.
No.
Red Sox hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Signed by Trot Nixon. I got a Trot Nixon signature on this.
You know what I've got? This is my golf cap. You know why it's not a baseball cap? Because I'm a fag.
I thought that was a great "Make America Great Again" hat.
No,
I couldn't read the writing.
No. Those the difference between them and this is those look like Elmer Fudd's hunting. You know, it should, instead of saying "Make America Great Again," it should just say "Wabbits" on it. Scott, you're there, right, Scott?
Yes, can you hear me?
No, yeah, but I can't see you. We lost your camera for some reason.
Oh, it did drop out, didn't it?
I thought maybe you were going off to the bathroom or something.
No.
Hey, I had a 2-hat weekend. This one is Gary Sinise hat for his Lieutenant Dan Van, Gary Sinise Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And what's his name? Tony sent me this one.
Really? You were there, Scott, for a second.
Yeah, it turns on and shuts right off, so I'll just leave it off.
Or try turning it back on once more and see what happens.
So this is a newsboy hat. You know, unflip that, and it's like.
Yeah. What do you know? It keeps going off, Scott. You're right, but just jump in anytime you want to say something.
Well, I don't say much.
I've banned Tony from my messenger on Facebook.
So did I. What happens is you can block the conversation, and then just to be nice, I check in once in a while and make a comment, and then I block it again.
No, I blocked him because I just said he twice wrote me and said, I went and saw the Avengers this weekend. It was good.
Yeah.
Robert Downey was good. And then he writes it again. First time he wrote him, I said, I don't really give a shit, Tony. And the next time he wrote me, I said, you already told me, and I told you I didn't give a shit. And then he went, oh. And then I wrote back, I'm blocking you. And I blocked him. I just said, that's it.
I do on a regular basis.
Because then he also sends me pictures of every Hanna-Barbera dumbass cartoon character. You know, I mean, if you're gonna send me good cartoon characters, there were some great cartoon characters, right? But I'm sorry, not Scooby-Doo, but whatever was not one of them. What have you got there, Phil?
He sent me the Trump comic book.
Who?
And Tony, and it says World War T, and then it's got a picture of Trump saying, "Not kneel for dumb anthem." And, you know, so that's the Trump. And then he also gifted me a Spider-Man 2099. I don't know what this is about, but
I have no idea what that is.
I can proudly say that I have never owned a comic book in my life. And so these are the
what were you, a fag?
Yes, probably. But yeah, 2 comic books. That's
By the way, I saw the what might be, if you get a chance to watch it, or you can get it online.
Yeah,
it's an incredible hour with Kanye West on TMZ.
He's come out and said a few other odd things.
Hold on. So he's on TMZ, and they bring him on, and he gets into a fight with this guy, Van, who's a very bright black guy who's on the show, who just tells him, you've really let us down, and it is an hour of there's a certain genius in Kanye West, but there's also a certain amount of absolute fucking unmitigated insanity. And this whole thing, he comes on, and then all of a sudden he starts turning away from the camera and to the people in the back who all work at TMZ, and he starts yelling at him, I was on opioids and blah, 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 and if you don't believe me this and you don't believe that, and then he gets into a fight with this guy, Van. It is the most real at least the first half of it, but probably the whole thing, the most real hour of television I have seen since I can't remember when.
Is this Van the sidekick to the 11 or whatever his name is?
Well, no, the sidekick. I can't remember the guy's name. It was his sidekick. But this is another guy who's like the head of their sports department and stuff. And his name is Van. And he's very smart. And he took Kanye to the woodshed. And he said, when I was growing up, you were my hero. He said, and I've defended you here for years, but now you've let me down, with all this crap. One of the things that he said, which drove Van crazy, was number one, the Trump thing, which he said, these are people who are out to get us, not out to help us. And he said, but he said, you're not in touch because you're on a different level than the rest of us. You're living, you're married to whoever, and, you're hanging out with those people. Meanwhile, we got to live in the real world here, Kanye. And then Kanye came out with the thing about blacks were slaves for 400 years, so they must have liked something about it.
He said they chose.
They chose to be slaves.
Yeah,
because
right.
For 400 years they didn't do anything about it. Woo! Crazy. Marjorie said, well, he's really bright. And I said, yeah, but he's also real dumb. I mean, you know how you can be really smart and still be really dumb? And it was amazing. I find it difficult to even believe that a black man in America would at any point feel that Trump was a good idea for black people in America.
Maybe he's getting past color and just dealing as a person. And just because he's black doesn't necessarily mean he's got to fall into a lockstep.
Well, that's one of the things he said. He said, I'm a free thinker. Okay, well, good. You're a free stupid thinker, but you're a free thinker.
Hey, then.
I mean, I realize that I like Phil. Phil's a decent guy. Phil's bright. He's smart, but he's really off base with his politics. He's full of crap. And so's Kanye West.
That's because you're an anarchist. You just want to tear down the system.
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's May 1. Let's long live the Haymarket Martyrs. Today's May 1.
No, I don't want to tear down the system. I want to build up the system. Your boy is tearing it down.
Yeah, and that's what he got elected to do.
To tear it down.
To clean the swamp.
Yeah. Well, he's treating
the swamp. He keeps introducing more and more swamp people.
Yeah. He drained the swamp so he could use them.
Looks like he eats them.
Yeah. I mean, how many more swamp people can he find? Maybe we should call Donald Trump and the swamp people.
There is a show called Swamp People. I've never seen it, but as I click past shows, Swamp People is one of them.
No, I think it's Swamp something else. It has to do with some people in the bayou who go hunting for stuff. Swamp something or another.
Yeah, but the name of the show I thought was Swamp People.
Oh, could be. But I mean, he literally he's draining the swamp, so that's where he's recruiting his people.
Even doctors.
His doctors too. Well, I hope
even they're got all kinds of shit in their background.
That doctor was there for 3 presidents, including Obama.
Dr. Ronnie, that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was Trump's physician.
Well, no, it's the White House physician, and he has served 3 presidents.
The Trump's personal physician, was that goofy-looking guy who now says he's no longer Trump's physician after 35 years of being his physician.
You know why? Because Trump now has medical care provided by the government, and he doesn't take that payment. He
doesn't take what payment?
The guy doesn't take the government deal. He takes other insurances. So he can't work on Trump because he won't get paid.
That's not true, but
you want to believe it.
Please, maybe you should laugh after you tell a joke like that, so we know that's not true.
Well, okay.
No, his personal doctor, that Dr. Goofy guy, whatever his name is,
Howard Bornstein.
Bornstein, right?
Forbin said a while back.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
a Jewish doctor.
Yeah, I don't know what he is. He looks. You know what he looks like? I have a $5 bill in my coat pocket. Now, let me tell you why, and you'll find out where this is going. The reason I have that $5 bill in my pocket is that I was running to get to the store one day, and all of a sudden a woman said, "Is that your $5 bill on the ground?" And I checked, and I felt maybe it could have fallen out of my pocket. I'm losing stuff. So I said, "Yeah, I guess, yeah." And I took it, and I went, and then I looked at my money, and it was all there. And this was not my $5. So I now have this $5 in my pocket. So that when next time somebody comes up to me asking me for money, I'm going to give them that $5 bill. I'm going to pay it back since it's not mine. All right? Sound good? If this Dr. Bornstein or whatever his name came up to me and said, "You got any spare change?" I'd give it to him in a second because he looks like he really needs it.
So, Alex, maybe you could give the $5 to the UPS guy for Christmas.
No.
No.
He's not getting anything. I'm going out and buying coal for him.
A lump of coal. Yeah, it looks like Swamp People is actually a show featured on a history series.
Oh, okay. So anyway, Rob, where'd you go on vacation? What'd you do on vacation?
Spent the first half of a week in Vegas, and spent the second half of the week in Southern California.
Well, why did you choose to split that? I mean, I know why you go to Vegas because you can go to.
Well, I can't deal with more than like 3 days.
No, Vegas and more than 3 days in Vegas is insane. I used to have to go there for conventions. I take the hookers there and everybody. No,
everybody who travels and does conventions, they always wind up in Vegas.
And it's a great place to visit. 5 days in Vegas, you're climbing the fucking walls.
Yeah, my wife's never been, and we went to see a bunch of shows, and we had a really good time. But it was time to leave. We did Hoover Dam.
Yeah. Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah. And then we rented a car and drove through the desert and went out to, because it's really what else you're going to do. We went out to L.A. and where I have some family there. She has some family there. So we saw some family and then we drove back to Vegas and then flew out of McCarran.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a very nice little vacation.
Yeah.
That little trip from Vegas to L.A. or to Southern California is a nice trip, too. I used to go do that, and we'd go through Victorville, where Victorville had the one reason you would want to stop in Victorville, but it's not there anymore. The Roy Rogers Museum. The worst museum you will ever be in your life.
can't imagine going.
I think I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah. To begin with, they had Trigger outside up on his heels or whatever with his dick showing, oddly enough. And then you go in there, and there's everything that Roy ever shot and killed stuffed.
Oh, jeez.
And you know, and the funny part is, all these animals have a look on their face like it was the last thing they were thinking just before they realized there was a gun pointed at them. You know, and then they had a Trigger stuffed, only he was falling apart, and Buttermilk. Do you remember who Buttermilk was? That was Dale's horse. They stuffed. They wound up here at they fixed them all up and they put them on up to auction here at Sotheby's in New York, and we went by, Shecky and I, and saw the whole thing there. But it was the worst museum I've ever seen, and it had, you would walk through there and there were these glass cases, and one of them was a tribute to God, and I swear to you, it read on it, "Our religious heritage."
Religious.
What, one of the letters fall off?
No, it was spelled wrong, and it had been that way obviously for 20 years, and nobody noticed it.
Nobody went.
I mean, it was the worst low-rent museum you've ever been to in your life. And it was right there. It was like at a corner. There was like, you go one way, you go on one road. You go one way, you go on the other road. And in the middle of it was the Roy Rogers Museum.
Did they charge admission?
Yes, of course. You know, I think when I went there the first time, I think Roy and Dale were still alive, actually. But probably hadn't been in that museum in years. I mean, they were falling apart, you know. They were getting ready to meet their maker. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm on vacation right now. I'm in Santa Barbara.
Oh, really?
Very nice.
See, you call us, and then you don't say where you are, and there's no light there right now. I don't know what happened to the light in the room.
My wife's using the lights. I don't know why.
Isn't Santa Barbara beautiful?
The lights were too bright for her.
I don't feel alone anymore.
Yeah, right.
In my darkness here.
I mean, we can still see you, but you know. So you're in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
What are you doing in Santa Barbara?
Well, a friend of ours who loves Santa Barbara used to live here, and she said, "Why don't we go? We go to Santa Barbara this year, and why don't you guys come with us?"
Yeah. What?
So that's why we're here.
Who was whispering?
Who's whispering?
What?
His wife.
I don't know who that whispering was.
Who was whispering? Was that? Hello, Mrs. Jeff. You know, what's interesting is that people can do their thing from anywhere, and we don't know that they aren't still at home. You know, because that's just the way it is now.
I kept saying if I had the time, I would have called in, you know, at least with my phone. Yeah. And every time, because I'm so not used to it being so early.
Yeah. Right.
And it always, I was like, I missed it. You know, it's like, because that's why Phil's on every night. I realized that I'm exhausted, you know, especially lately, because the last week coming back, we flew back, we left Vegas at like 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. And we got back to Dulles at 4:15 in the morning, Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. And then it's an hour and change drive from Dulles home. So it was 6 a.m. Sunday morning when we got home, slept for a few hours. Then I got a surprise call from a friend of mine who used to live in this area, moved to New Hampshire. And he was supposed to be in Myrtle Beach, but the weather was so shitty in Myrtle Beach, he figured he would drive through Virginia, and he wanted to stop over here Monday night. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. Right. So we had them for dinner Monday night, and I'm still jet lagged and but I couldn't say, no, don't come, because I hadn't seen him, and I really wanted to see him and his family. And then the rest of the week, you know, it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and all good intentions start to fade.
Yeah.
And
Well, you
say,
see,
know
I mean,
what?
I appreciate it when you call because I know you work, and that it's the same time for you as it is for me.
And I get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So last week was tough. This week, and then, the other thing is, as I said to you in the email, we really lucked out. I love my home, and we live in a beautiful area, but we've got some of the best neighbors I, in 61 years, have ever lived near. We are friendly with them. We spent Friday night with them. We had a party on Saturday. I had an impromptu party here on Sunday. The neighbors just came over. It's just a blast. And so we spend a lot of time with them. And as I know, when the weather starts to get nice, everybody's hanging out outside. The kids are playing in the street, and all of us are hanging out. It's an awesome, and my wife and the woman next door have become like sisters.
Wow.
So, and I really, really, really appreciate that, because my wife has been very self-conscious around English people, Americans, because of her language. But yet she's now made all these American friends, especially with the woman next door. So it's really awesome,
That's terrific.
They're not from Est.
My wife has become good friends with Natalia, who is Jack Garfine's significant other, and every Saturday they have lunch, and it's kind of nice that even at this point in her life she's making friends, Mm-hmm. And it's a good friend. I mean, these same thing with Jack. I've become very close to Jack. And by the way, Jack's interview, the entire thing is up on my Facebook page.
Great.
And a lot of people have been looking at it. I put it up everywhere else too. It's also on both Roku channels and let's see here. Anywhere else? Yeah. So it's all over the place. So you can. It's now up for the ages, and now I've got to call Jack tomorrow, have some lunch with him, and then get him in here for that second interview I want to do with all the, stories about Marilyn and James Dean and the Actors Studio and all the stuff that he did later on in life, because it's like a phenomenal life this guy's lived. Just amazing, just amazing. Anyway, as I say, the Nobel Peace Prize thing got to me over the weekend. I was just going, how dare he? It's not something you beg for, and he's begging for it, and he's got his crowd yelling, "Nobel, Nobel!" Like, I'm sorry, it's a little more dignified procedure than that.
Wall.
What?
Build the wall. Nobel. Build the wall.
Build the wall. What do you think about all these people, the caravan?
Oh, well, they said they were going to do extreme vetting. This is their opportunity. If some of these people are really fleeing persecution, then they should be let in. And if they're just trying to
isn't what your boy said the other night when he was giving a speech to counter the correspondence dinner.
I understand the international law is that they are to be let into the first country that they get into. So Mexico should have taken them. Now, I understand Mexico has taken some, but the ones that have been let through to the border should have been handled by Mexico, because that was the first country that they got into out of their country.
Why don't we take them?
Why should we?
Why shouldn't we?
Well, we should have.
Please don't be Jewish and ask a question to answer a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Why do Jews answer questions with a question? Why shouldn't we? I mean.
Anyway, our country is set up by helping immigrants, and if they are truly persecuted, and they get to this country. Now, if they got to this country from Cuba and they got to the shore of Florida, then that would have been the first country that they got to, and that's why we take them. But the ones from Colombia, and I believe it's Colombia, they got into Mexico, and Mexico should have taken them. That's the deal. We take the ones that get to our shore.
Well, but that isn't part of what they're doing is a protest.
Well, if it's a protest and they're not genuinely in need of sanctuary, then I say send them back.
I say that anybody who wants to live here should be allowed to live here. That's the basis on which this country was formed.
Oh, no, that's the basis of the poem.
No, it's not the basis of the poem. It's also the basis. People who came here originally were fleeing persecution.
You mean like the Jews that came on the boat and got sent back from New Jersey?
Well, that's because we, by that time, had become assholes. Okay.
A lot of them were Dutch, as I remember.
Were they Dutch as well?
Should have been sent back. Now, I thought they were concentration camp survivors.
No.
Not yet.
This was during the war.
No, it was after the war. There was some sort of barge or boat that came over and had 200.
Because I know there were some boats that came over during the war of Jews who wanted, but we weren't accepting Jews in this country during World War II.
That's right.
Well, after World War II,
so
there were
thank you very much, America. You let 6 million of my potential relatives die.
And much closer for you because of your heritage.
Well, I mean, my father came over here after World War I. In fact, supposedly there was a photograph of the troops coming back to Germany through the Brandenburg Gate, and there are crowds there, and my father spotted his picture in the crowd.
Wow.
I mean, so they came right after that. So they got out before the whole Hitler thing happened. They came in about 1921, if I'm not mistaken. At least I looked in the Ellis Island documents, and he was my father and his mother were listed there as coming in around 1921. I'd have to go back and look at it.
I thought the pogroms were going on even in the late 1800s.
Pogroms were in Russia.
Yeah. Now
and Lithuania.
But we're talking about Germany. They were in Germany at this point, and they got out before Hitler even took power, or as I like to think of him, Drumpf.
My relatives came over around 1880, mostly from Russia and Austria.
Yeah. Yes, Jack Bishop has joined us, host of The Intersection, which follows immediately over most of the same station. Yes?
Yes. Hey, Phil, can I get repatriated back to my native homeland?
I'm sure there's some people that would love to do that for you, but they have...
my family got here in the 1700s.
No, wait a minute, but can you tell me where from? Do you know where from?
As a matter of fact, I recently had some DNA work done.
Oh, forget that bullshit. Mine came back and said, you're Jewish and you're from around here somewhere. Oh, good guess. Good guess, pal. I'm 99% Jewish. Marjorie was only 90% Jewish.
Hey,
well, by that token, I was only 74% sub-Saharan African.
Oh, really? And what was the rest of you? Irish.
Well, as a matter of fact, 19% of my ethnic background is Irish.
Really?
Yeah. And there was about 2% that was Asian, which we knew about, and also about 1.5–2% that was German that we knew about. Really? Or in other words, whoever was passing through town, we were screwing them.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Now, your eyes could say that they have a little bit of an Asian bent.
Yes, and that was because of my great grandfather who worked on the railroad in the 1800s.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now, this is something my family knows about because there was no attempt to hide it. Mm-hmm. The United States at that time had a policy that Asian men could come to this country, but Asian women could not, because if the women came, the men would stay and there would be families, and there was a thing called the Asian exclusion rule that lasted up until the 1960s.
Does that mean no egg rolls?
That means also no tiki, no shirty.
Yeah.
But this one guy
Welcome to the racist hour here on the Ramble.
Hey, it's America, man. You cannot be an American and not have a tinge of racism.
Oh, I
was live and not have a tinge of racism.
Well, somebody said to me once, "Are you racist?" And I said, "I'm white." Does that answer your question?
Hey, I'm black. Does that answer the question also? Yeah, I was surprised when I discovered mine.
Yeah.
As long as you and I have known each other, I did not believe I was racist to any degree until I was in my late 30s. And then I got the shock of my life.
I thought you got racist.
Wait a minute. What made you realize you were racist?
Well, it was a bright and sunny day in Dallas. Mm-hmm. I was driving by one of my favorite restaurants in a little convertible that I had. I had the top down, having a great day, and then I saw this couple come out of another restaurant that I love. Mm-hmm. And they were hugging and squeezing and, rubbing all up against each other. Mm-hmm. And I was incensed, Alex. I was so pissed, I couldn't believe it. It was an interracial couple.
Well, yeah.
And what bothered me was that she was black, he was white. And then I started laughing because I was really pissed off about the fact that red-headed Irish girl that I've been living with for 2 years had left my ass about 3 weeks before. And I realized that son of a bitch was going to get some tonight. And I was going home to my bottle of Jergens lotion.
Yeah.
I don't know that's a racist thing. That's
believe me.
Believe me.
No, it's at that point that he noticed the black and white together.
Yeah, I'd been living with this girl for 2-3 years. We talked about getting married, having little pintos together. And when I saw that couple, it was just like a blind, searing kind of hate that I had there for a minute, 2 minutes.
A minute or 2 minutes. Well, I got to tell you that I never knew racism existed until I met you. And we knew each other. We knew each other in Houston, Texas. And we would do things to drive the local population crazy, like walk down the street with him on one side of my wife and me on the other side of my wife and having everybody try to figure out who was with who.
I remember being in a restaurant with you, and you said to me, well, tell me, do you and Ronnie find that it's difficult living here in the South? And I said, my God, I've traveled 1,500 miles to get shot. Because this son of a bitch is my friend who's known me since I was a teenager. I'm going to be
Well, you know what it was? What was strange
town.
about it is we were both from San Francisco, and really, even though I'm sure racism existed in San Francisco, we didn't know that. We didn't have that profound a feeling that it existed. And so here are the same two guys in an area where you had to live on one side of the town, and I had to live on the other.
My favorite story about racism.
It looks like Rob wanted to ask a question. Did you have a question there, Rob?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to be Ask the Black Guy?
The first racist.
That's that Mooney guy's routine. Ask the black man.
Yeah, I grew up in Marin County, which I should have known was racist because there was only one black guy who had a business on 4th Street in San Rafael, and there were no blacks in my high school. And yet, if you wanted to go to see blacks in a high school, you had to go over to Tamalpais High School in Mill Valley. Yep. And that's where all the blacks went.
Well, my high school
but I grew up very naive about it because I never had a barrier that way. In fact, I used to hang out with kids from Tamalpais all the time because I liked the black kids better than I liked the white kids.
Well, that's because Marin City was closer to Tamalpais.
It's in the school
I'll tell
district.
you the greatest story. The story I continue to tell is that I had these two friends. Let's see here, the Barron brothers, and I can't remember both their names, but anyway, the fact was I went over to their house in Marin City, And they were building these newer homes up on the hill. These were the old shacks that had been used to house people who worked in the shipyards in World War II, and they let blacks live in them. And some of the blacks, they were giving the ability to buy homes up on the hill that they were building. And so Theo Barron, the father, decided to buy one of these homes. And I said to him, I said, why are you buying one of these homes? Why, you're the only businessman on 4th Street in black businessman on 4th Street in San Rafael. He ran a shoe repair shop. And I said, you made a lot of money off of that, right? He said, yeah, why don't you just buy a home somewhere else in Marin County? And he said, I want to thank you, white people. I said, well, why? He says, you've saved me a lot of money. I said, why? He said, because I can't move into your part of the county. And it was the first time I almost asked him why, because I was blind to that.
Well, I think there was a difference, Alex. There is the kind of segregation you and I saw in the South.
Yeah.
Which was
profound,
new to us. And then there was kind of a laissez-faire kind of thing that, that happened in the North. My first contact with racism in San Francisco didn't happen until I was 12 years old. And that was my dad had come home from the base. He was looking out his bay window, and he said, God damn it, there are Okies moving in. And this and he literally said this to my mother.
Yeah.
Ruby, there goes the neighborhood.
Really?
And yes, I'll never forget this the longest day I live. And of course, you're not going to confront your old man when you're 12 years old, particularly when he's a chief petty officer. You're going to toe the line. And I wish he had lived a little longer. And when my nuts finally dropped, and I would have said, can you imagine when we moved into this neighborhood in Bernal Heights?
Yeah.
Some of the neighbors probably said the same thing.
Yeah,
there goes the neighborhood.
But San Francisco never liked to think of itself as racist. Yet there were.
It's very racist.
But didn't you guys experience the not segregated restaurants and bathrooms and water fountains like the rest of the country?
No, we didn't have those.
Yeah, the rest. And the thing is, the rest of the country, much of it wasn't like that. I talked to friends of mine.
It was the South, and they were all Democrats.
But here's the thing. Let me just say this quickly about San Francisco. If you were black, you could go into almost any restaurant you wanted to, but you usually didn't.
Yeah.
You would pick the restaurant that had the black people in it.
Hey, ILWU Local 10 was the first union to have blacks. In fact, they had the first black president. I forget his name, Theophilus something or other. Back in the 60s.
It's the International Longshoremen Workers Union.
Yeah, ILWU.
Yeah,
Local 10.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah, I know I have 2 minutes.
Well, Jack.
What? Oh,
he looked at the clock and said, "Ooh, I got 2 minutes."
Yeah. Well, you see, there's my theme song rolling, and then he'll sign off.
I gotta go get my theme song ready.
Yeah, go get your theme song ready. Call me again sometime. Let's talk more about this. But you and I experienced our first dose of racism in Houston, Texas, together.
Yeah. And it was your fault, man. They said, get the Jew. The black guy can pick cotton.
Oh, well, I had that Jew boy thing going for me, too, down there. Anyway, thanks, Jack. I appreciate it. Thanks to Mr. Perulas for having joined us this evening. Always good having you here. John, Phil, good having you here. Rob, great to have you back. Always love your presence. Whenever the baseball game's over with and you can be with us, hop online. Scott Boddicker, thank you. And Jeff, thank you. And I think that's it. Yeah. Well, I'm going to sneeze. I think I have allergies. What's his name? Bubbles said if you sneeze more than 3 times, it's allergies. So, welcome to allergy season, everybody. Anyway, everybody, wave goodbye to our fine folks out there. That's our citizens panel. Hopefully, some of them will be back with us again tomorrow night. Let me see here. Where do I go? Oh, here we go. There we go. I'm picking my nose. I'm scratching it because it's itching and sneezing. Let me see here. Let me get rid of everybody. and get rid of the phones so Jack can use them next with Amy and his program called The Intersection. That's up next, followed at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern Daylight Time by Connections. Tomorrow night it's our sports show with franchise MC at 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time called The Arena, and then Damian Chaplin is at 9:30 with The Exchange, and then we'll see you again tomorrow night, same time, same station in life at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye.